Welcome to Series 11. We recorded this right after we returned from a catacon, so we may not be as chipper and charismatic as usual, but we promise you are still going to enjoy this series.
Mm-hmm. And for the announcements, I'll start it off. If you are interested in coming to Wisconsin in January,
which everyone should be. You should come to Wisconsin in January.
It's the best time.
Why else?
If you love snow.
Perfect time to come here.
All our friends from California come to Wisconsin in January.
Texas, Florida, come visit us.
Yeah. I'm going to be at the Midwinter gaming convention in Milwaukee, and I will be running more playtests of Chimera. So if you missed out at a catacon or you just want to play it again, check out the convention and sign up. If you want to keep up with what is happening with the game, you can follow along on Twitter at Chimera RPG, or you can head to our Discord at discord.charactercreationcast.com.
I am really hoping that I will get to be there. I haven't bought my ticket yet, and I don't know what my schedule will be, but I'm really hoping to get a chance to be there too. And maybe you and I can do something together. That'd be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I've got 2 games on Saturday, 4-hour blocks each, so nice. I would love it if you would be able to go and sign up for one of those.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. We'll see.
Awesome.
Because I'm, actually in Milwaukee. I really have no excuse to not go.
Exactly.
I live here.
Make time.
Gosh darn it. I can find 4 hours on a Saturday.
Exactly.
If we are sharing exciting, cool stuff that we're doing, then guess what? I'm doing another podcast.
What?
I know. Number 3. My friend Jude of the Atherbeth podcast and former guest on our show, and I are starting our own podcast where we are going to talk about L5R, because that was the thing you all needed more of in your life, was me talking about L5R. The game has a ton of lore, and so we are going to dig through all of it and share our thoughts on some of the cool and silly and stupid parts of it. Episode 1 is going to release on January 8th. You can find us at G5R Podcast on Twitter or at garbageofthefiverings.com.
I love that name.
I know, I'm really excited about it. We have such good art too. Jess did such a good job. Ugh. Yeah,
it is so good. Awesome. Well, if you want to tell us all the awesome stuff that we're doing on this podcast, you can go and leave it a review on iTunes or on Stitcher or even on our Facebook page. And you can leave reviews like this one from Mothlands from the United States. It is titled Good for Players and GMs Alike, and it simply says, an excellent and entertaining way to dive into a system.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Beautiful.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. That was a really good and concise review.
With all of that out of the way, here's the episode.
Enjoy. Welcome to Character Creation Cast, a show where we discuss and create characters, the best part of role-playing games, with guests using their favorite systems. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and this episode, my co-host Amelia and I welcome several members of the Magpies podcast, a Blades in the Dark actual play podcast. We are here to discuss character creation for Blades in the Dark, a fantasy role-playing game system by Evil Hat Productions.
Welcome to Character Creation Cast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
I'm really excited for this one. This is one I've wanted to talk about for a long time. I say a long time, like we've been doing this podcast forever. since April.
This is series 11, so like that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. Let's start with Reed. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your projects, what you've got going on?
Yeah, so I'm Ree. I am the GM and producer of the Magpies podcast. We post episodes every other Tuesday. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing that I have going on right now. I am in the process of getting a freelance sort of side business together that's going to be copy editing and digital document accessibility for the RPG community, but that is still a work in progress. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye on my Twitter, and I will share it there whenever it actually becomes a real thing and not just sort of a half-finished project.
Everything has to start somewhere.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay, Josie, how about yourself?
Hi, I'm Josie. I play Minx on the Magpies podcast. And I also do character art and design. Best place to find all my stuff is my Twitter at DragonGirlJosie.
Nice.
And Minna, what about you?
I'm Minna. I'm a player on Magpies, obviously. I'm also a player in the Iron Heights podcast, which probably by this time this comes out, it launches tomorrow, so probably it'll be out by...
Yes, it's not out tomorrow, so...
We do not have that quick of turnaround,
So
no.
I am also a player on the Iron Heights podcast, which should be up on the One Shot Network by the time this comes out.
Yay!
Excellent. All right.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm involved in.
Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and get into this, and we will start by discussing what this game is all about.
What's in a game?
All right, so can we go ahead and talk a little bit about the setting of Blades in the Dark?
Sure, I can jump on this one because I'm usually the one that has to, like, when I'm running well, when I'm running cons, or when I'm running games at cons, or when I am doing kind of like promo stuff for the Magpies, I have to explain it. So the setting is industrial fantasy. So rather than sort of the like pseudo medieval fantasy of D&D, this is kind of at a Victorian era level of technology. So there are like steam powered stuff. There's electricity. There's guns. There are big steamships. I really can't do the setting any more justice than the kind of elevator pitch that the book has, which is you're in a haunted Victorian era city trapped inside a wall of lightning powered by demon blood.
Oh, yeah, like you do.
As you do. So yeah, it's a few different things. So you have this sort of the industrial era stuff with all of the social and class implications that carries. It is also haunted. The setting is kind of a post-apocalyptic one. About 9 centuries before present day, there was some kind of magical cataclysm that shattered the sun. So it is basically dark. It is night permanently in this setting, and broke the gates of death. So now when people die, their spirits do not move on. Their spirits just sort of linger, and lingering spirits tend to become angry and hungry and prey on the living. So the lightning barrier around the main city of Duskwall keeps ghosts out, generally speaking. But it means that outside that lightning barrier is extremely dangerous. So it creates this pressure cooker situation where you can't expand. The city cannot get any larger than it currently is. Every scrap of territory in the city is already claimed by someone. So for a brand new crew of scoundrels starting off in this city, you are going to be taking, if you want territory, you have to take it.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's a very cool setting. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it sounds really wild.
I feel like there's a lot going on there that you can kind of play a wide variety of games in that setting.
Yes.
And I really love, so in the book, there's laid out like little, I'm going to show this to you guys on web camera, but I'm also going to explain this because it's an audio medium, but there's little neighborhood pages. So every neighborhood in Duskwall has like a little 2-page spread that gives you some landmarks, it gives you descriptions of what it looks like, it gives you a couple of notable figures there, and it just really it's a nice little gazetteer to kind of get you grounded in the setting, but also enough details left out that you can make up what you want to.
And it does a really good job of getting you really, really familiar with the city. and knowing the character of each neighborhood without,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the sort of D&D aspect of, okay, here's every block mapped out, and here's where everything exactly is.
It's like that PBTA, like Dungeon World, especially I think of, has this rule of like draw a map but leave blanks, and Blades does a really good job of that.
Oh, that's very cool.
So, what aside from the book, which we always assume you need to play this game, what other kinds of tools do you need? What kind of dice do you use? Any other peripherals?
2d6, and that's about it.
Sometimes you need more than 2d6.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not.
You may need up to 4d6. I don't know of any situation where you can.
You
maybe
could
5 if you're really, really good.
4 to
at something.
5 d6. Sorry.
in theory, you could push things up if you had the max number of points in a skill, you pushed yourself and you got help from a friend. You could make a 66 roll on something. That is the maximum number of dice that it is possible to roll in this game. So at most you need 66.
So give yourself a
6
cube
dice.
of dice because you can't ever have too many anyway.
That's true.
Correct.
Plus, it looks nicer when you have 20 of them stacked on top of each other.
My 50-some d6s might have to argue with you.
You love all of them individually for who they are.
Not the 36 green ones.
All right. So what do characters do in this game? I know in D&D you go on adventures and stuff, and Masks you play superheroes. But what do characters generally do in Blades in the Dark?
Crime.
Okay.
You do. I mean, like that's the pithy answer. But no, I mean it is a game about playing a crew of criminals doing crimes in this city. So
This sounds like heists.
yes, you've got heists and scores, and you based on what kind of crew you decide to be, which we'll get into a little bit later. That kind of picks your the type of crime you want to do. But yeah, basically you are playing a bunch of criminals.
And like the game structure is very much the main action is a score. Like you're doing a criminal score somewhere in the session, and that's going to be kind of the core of it. There's supporting stuff as well, and you play like a longer game with the other crews, but I feel like this score is usually the centerpiece of our sessions, at least.
So it's probably a good thing to have a character that's at least a little bit selfish.
You'd say that, and then you'd look at the Magpies.
Hey, we're selfish in our own ways.
Occasionally you have been known to exhibit moments of greed, but the Magpies started off as the thief crew, as shadows, and
We were very bad at it.
They were very bad at it. They are very, very bad at being thieves. Like,
How long has it been since we've earned money?
A very long time.
It's, I mean, you made some money off of that score where you broke into the farm.
I guess, did we?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I guess we stole
right.
some of it. We gave a lot of it to Bazo, though.
Yeah, they're really bad at making money. Which is why they're not thieves anymore.
That's amazing.
But yeah, in general, you are playing characters who maybe they are not necessarily selfish, but they are willing to go against the established order.
Okay.
What do you guys think is particularly unique about this game?
Well, one is the setting, but it lets you do a lot of complex drama, sort of spur of the moment. A lot of the structure of the scores is you don't spend a lot of time planning exactly how everything's going to go down. You do some prep, but then you go into the score, and then you can do things like flashbacks and certain actions to retroactively prepare for things and sort of adjust as things go on. So it allows for a lot of complexity without bogging things down too much with a lot of complex rules, which I really like.
Yeah, it takes that very traditional thing that you see in a heist movie where the criminal heroes get into some kind of bind and you're like, oh man, they're totally screwed. And then there's a flashback to show how they prepared for it. that there is a mechanic in this. There's actually a couple mechanics in this game for that precise situation. It's designed to make your characters look extremely competent. Like one thing I really like is the way equipment works. You don't, like when you're going on a score, you don't say, okay, I'm going to bring my lockpicks and my demolition tools and this and that and the other. You just say, I'm bringing 5 things. And then throughout the score, when you get to a situation where you need a thing, you just go, okay, one of the things I brought is this tool that we need right now.
Yeah.
So it's just your characters look like they are super competent and very prepared and planned for every eventuality.
Until they're not.
Until the dice turn, and as they do. But I mean, it allows you to make it seem like within the narrative, like your characters spent a week planning without actually having the players spend 3 hours planning. And then as soon as the first die roll happens, the whole plan falls apart.
And I love also that so much of it, like, you're not going to have a lot of just pure successes. I think there's only there's 2 results. You can get a 6 or you can get 2 6s, and that's like a pure success. But like most of the time, you're going to be getting like partial success. And that really, like, there are consequences that come with those that really drives that story forward as well.
Yeah, I like the idea of not having to spend all kinds of time sitting in that like out of character negotiation that you do, trying to think like, okay, how is the GM going to try and ruin this beautiful plan that I've come up with? And I have to plan for every contingency. And you start to get into like your 3rd and 4th level of hypotheticals of like, well, what if this? But then if that happens, and then what if this? And you start to kind of like spiral out of control after a while. And I feel like that really hurts the momentum of a game. And so I like the idea of having mechanics built in to kind of cut that off.
And with Blades, too, you almost want things to go wrong because it's more fun that way.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that way in like most games, but I know not everybody does.
We haven't brought up that beautiful, beautiful mechanic, the Devil's Bargain.
Yes, thank you.
And it's
I was going to bring it up.
Good. It's basically saying, hey GM, give me an extra die in this roll. In return, there will be some consequence that happens regardless of how I do it. And a lot of the time, that will be like a really interesting story thing. And like it's not good for your character, but you'll go, yes, please, that's so great. It drives the story forward. It makes it more interesting.
Our motto is basically, what's a devil's bargain look like here?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's gotten to a point now with the Magpies, at least, where like sometimes I can't come up with a devil's bargain, and then I'll just like toss it to the players of like, okay, what bad thing should happen here? And they will come up with some really awful stuff, and it's still good.
I love games like that.
Yeah.
Those are good moments. I mean, Ree, you and I have played together before too, and you know that I feel that way of like, yes, make it horrible.
Make our children suffer.
Yes.
Oh, there's a really beautiful couple of paragraphs in the book about that. It's just like, yeah, your character's going to fail, and they're going to fail hard, and that's how it works, and you just have to pick them up and realize you can get through this. It's just going to be difficult.
Yeah. You're not done yet. Get back in there, I think is the phrasing that's used. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about the history of the system then. It looks like it was kickstarted in 2015.
Yes, I backed it way back when.
Yeah, and Ray's the expert here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was normally when I encounter a new RPG and I'm learning about it, my gut reaction is, oh man, it would be so cool to build a character in this. As I imagine the show.
Aware.
Yeah. It's the premise of this whole show. Blades in the Dark was the first system that I ever looked at and was like, I want to GM this.
Ooh.
And I think part of it is because at the time I was very bad at GMing traditional or more traditional RPGs. Like I had attempted to DM some D&D and it had gone very badly. because I had fallen into kind of the new GM trap of like, oh, I have this beautiful story all planned out and my players will travel through the story. And then we'd get like 15 minutes into the first session and they're like, we're going to go over here. And I'm like, but my narrative.
But no, the map is over here.
Yeah. And Blades in the Dark does not let you do that. You cannot, as a GM, do really, like, I do some prep work as GM for the Magpies because it is a longer story and it's a slightly different situation than like a regular Blades in the Dark game because we are like, it's a podcast. We are telling a more organized narrative. But like, as a GM for Blades, you could roll into every session and be like, all right, what do you guys want to do? And just let you, it is a game designed to have the GM chasing the players rather than the GM leading the players through the story, which like both of those types of games are good. But if you are someone like me who, if I'm supposed to prepare a story, I will write a novel and then get sad when people aren't going through my novel. This works really well because it's like, I can't really do that much preparation. I just sort of have to let them go and follow after whatever they end up chasing down.
That sounds very familiar to myself.
I'm not a practiced GM and I tend to panic on the spot, but Blades has been maybe one of my better successes in terms of like not panicking as much while GMing.
Yeah, it sounds like they give you the tools to really GM on the fly pretty easily in this.
Yes.
So, like, there's even a nifty chart of, like, all of those consequences of bad rolls, like, depending on the position and the effect and things like that. It's very helpful. Very helpful for, like, on the fly being like, okay, so what happens now?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then what is this Forged in the Dark thing all about?
So, Blades has kind of spawned a whole bunch of sort of hacks and reskins where people are taking kind of the core mechanics and putting them into different settings, tweaking the system somewhat. So the kind of analogy that I used is Forged in the Dark is kind of like Powered by the Apocalypse.
Right.
So it's Blades in the Dark is the original, Apocalypse World is the original, but then you kind of have this framework that people are taking and just doing all kinds of cool stuff with. Like I think the one that's been published officially by Evil Hat is Scum and Villainy, which is Blades in the Dark in space.
Yay!
DC has Mutants in the Night.
Yeah, DC is doing Mutants in the Night. There's a lot of really cool ones just sort of in development. Some of them are affiliated with John Harper that were like stretch goals for the Kickstarter. So like there's one where it's like you're playing as the Bluecoats who are the police in this setting. There's one where I think it's like about a revolution against the empire
Broken
that rules.
Crown or
So yeah, there's a lot of different ones kind of in the setting, but then people are just going off and doing totally different things that don't have anything to do with the core Blade setting. So that's what Forged in the Dark is basically just like, we're using these mechanics to make a new game.
That's awesome.
I really wish I could remember who was doing this, but someone made like a Sailor Moon Forged in the Dark game.
Oh,
you are speaking my language.
What
right
is
now.
it?
Is it Girl by Moonlight?
Girl by Moonlight, yes.
Where can I get this?
Hang on,
seriously,
I'm Googling it right now.
It seems like such a weird marriage of like the game type and theme, but I'm sure it works.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole playbook type thing is more suited to that sort of genre of fiction, I guess.
Andrew Gills, I believe, is the name of the. I think.
Okay, sorry.
Google is not helping me with this very much. But yeah, the name of the magical girl one is Girl by Moonlight, and I've heard very good things about it. I haven't played it myself, but I've heard that it's extremely good.
I will definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
Have you played any Forged in the Dark that isn't Blades yet, Ree? Because I sure have not.
No, I actually haven't. I've looked at some of the other ones.
We were pirates briefly in one of my Blades games, but I don't think that was a full hack necessarily.
Yeah.
One of the questions.
Put us on this tangent.
Oh, okay. One of the things that we like to go over before we really dig into everything is to discuss if there are any kind of terms or vocabulary that people might need to know as we go through this process. So do you guys have any thoughts on what are things people might need to be aware of?
So the one thing that I can think of kind of that's sort of core for character creation are the actions. So, most systems you have abilities and skills and stats and whatever. For Blades, you have 12 actions available to you. And those are the things is how you interact with the world. So when, in the game, the GM would call for an action roll. And then you would pick whichever one of those actions you felt was best suited to what you're trying to accomplish and make that roll. The number of dots that you have in a given action is the number of dice that you roll. And the die rolls are resolved by you pick the single highest result, generally speaking. So like if I rolled 3d6 on a skill and I got a 1, a 3, and a 5, 5 is my result. I don't add them together. There's very little math in playing Blades in the Dark, which I also really like.
Every now and then I'll go back to Blades when it's been a bit, and I've been playing a lot of PBTA games, and I'll roll them and try to add them together, and I'm no, that doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I think there's one mechanic that requires you to subtract a die roll from 6, but otherwise there's really not any math.
There's 2.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the core thing for character creation is the action roll. Let me look at a character sheet here and see what else. There are special abilities that every playbook has, and I mean those are very similar to a PBTA type playbook where you pick from sort of a menu of special things that your character can do. Blades is not a PBTA game, but it has those bones are still in there. It started off. It's got that. It has that influence.
Okay.
It's listed as an inspiration in the front of the book. It's basically it.
I guess the other
is this the one with clocks?
Yes. Those don't really come up in character creation.
I feel like they're fairly central to playing the game. Though,
yes,
right?
Yeah, they're definitely a key part of play. Basically, a clock is a countdown to something happening. Usually in a score, that is something bad. So it's a lot of times it'll be okay, you all have been making a lot of noise trying to break into this place, so I'm going to start a 4-tick clock, which is literally just I draw a circle and divide it into 4 quadrants.
And consequences of rolls can tick up that clock at the GM's.
Yeah, and then when it fills up, the guards find you.
This is another mechanic that I like as far as keeping momentum for things.
Yes,
this game's... Again, I have not gotten to play it. It's one that it's been on my list of things that I'd really like to try. Mm-hmm. But it seems so much of this game is built around keeping things moving, which is a huge problem in a lot of games. Players stall out and you get kind of overwhelmed by choices, or you spend so much time in that planning and prep phase that you don't really get to actually do the thing. I love that this game has all of these mechanics built in to force you to suck it up and move forward.
Yeah.
It's almost to the point that you're so jumping to action that you have to remind yourself to stop and do some role play as well. You struggled with that early on in Magpies.
Yeah, I think we've definitely gotten better about that.
No, we've gotten a lot better, and I think you've built in stuff. It's just that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other kind of key terms would be stress, which is kind of the closest thing that this game has to hit points. Every character has 9 stress boxes, and stress is basically the scoundrels of this game are not like the normal people of Duskwall. They are not content with their lot in life. They have the ability to sort of draw on these inner reserves of strength to push themselves, literally as one of the mechanics, to do things that they can't normally do. So the mechanic push yourself, you take 2 points of stress and you get a bonus die. So even something where you have no skill in it, you can through a couple different mechanics, you can take yourself from 0 dice to like 2 dice by taking stress.
Oh, wow.
So, but then on the flip side, and this does tie into character creation, you have to deal with that stress, as we all know.
Yes.
You have to eventually do something for stress release, and that is where character vices come in, which we'll get into in more detail when we actually start building our characters. But stress is a pretty central mechanic. And then vices actually it's very important that your character has some way of blowing off steam.
Interesting.
There's really not a lot. You can pretty much just jump into Blade's creation almost with no...
Yeah.
like, with no previous prep.
Yeah.
It's very like PBTA that way that you can just kind of hop in and quickly whip up a character.
Very cool. Yeah, I do see a lot of different options on the character sheets that you had provided for us, so I'm really excited to get to it. Is there anything else that we would need to know before we hop into it?
Not that I can really think of. It's dark. Dark with a chance of blades. There is actually occasionally at sunrise and sunset you can see the shattered remains of the sun, but otherwise it's just dark. There is a moon.
Is it cold there then too?
Kind
Yes.
of.
It has 3 seasons, and most of those seasons involve fog.
Yeah. Well, at least in Duskwall, there's, and we'll talk
That's
about this
true.
a little bit with the kind of the character backgrounds there.
Heritages.
The book specifically says to not expect realism in terms of like how climate works.
Yeah, that's fair.
This was what
magic.
the storybook fantasy world of magic and wonders, which was
Yeah.
destroyed in an industrial civilization, was built on top of the ruins. Don't expect scientific realism here.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you can explain anything with magic.
Yeah. And it's all internally consistent.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's like the biggest.
Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure the stars shift.
Well, no.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm joking.
the rules of the world are internally consistent. Do they have any connection to the functioning rules of how our world works?
Don't worry
much.
about it.
Yeah.
Look, I play a game that has snake people in it, so like,
Yeah.
I get you.
It's fine.
The stars in the sky move around. The stars in the ocean, not so much.
There's stars in the ocean.
Sometimes there's little
The more you know.
Yeah.
little double images of the moon called dimmer sisters.
Huh.
Why is that? Who knows?
Also, the ocean is pitch black and reflects a starry sky that is not the starry sky above it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's unclear if it's a reflection or if you're just looking down into something. It's a
That's
lot.
not unsettling at all.
If there's
Yeah.
a way for the world to be unsettling, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Duly
I haven't
noted.
thoroughly read the setting section, so Ree will eventually just pull out these random tidbits of total insanity, and then we'll all just stop and be like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
He also has beautiful theories about the cataclysm.
Yeah. This sounds like a setting where I would just be like theorizing and hypothesizing about why things
and
are the way they are.
Last night I wrote 800 words about the historiography in the world because
Yeah.
I'm bad.
No, you're awesome.
No, you're
and it's going to
good.
be amazing. I'm super excited about
It'll
this.
be up for patrons
I need
at some
to-
point.
I
I need to
think
get started on my fashion blog.
I think I have an idea for my character now. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Well, with all of that out of the way, how about let's make some people?
Let's make some people.
My favorite part of the show. I think that the place I want to start with this is if you can, I know that there's like a lot of different character types here, but like if you can give us a quick rundown maybe of like what our choices are here.
Yes, I can do that.
Please.
Yeah, there are 7 playbooks available, and they are The Cutter, which are the kind of
Punch Kid.
Yeah, they're the fighters and brawlers, intimidator, the tough guys. The Hound, which is a sharpshooter and tracker. They have a hunting pet, which leads to some of my favorite character innovations. People always just go buck wild with the pets for their characters. It's very good. The Leech is an alchemist and saboteur. The Lurk is the sneak thief type. They are stealthy and good at breaking into places. The Slide is the party face. They are manipulative and deceitful and good at talking to people. The Spider is kind of the mastermind. They are good at conspiracies and planning. A lot of their special abilities have to do with kind of those flashback maneuvers that we talked about, of basically making sure that everyone was perfectly prepared for whatever catastrophe they're in. And then the Whisper is kind of the arcane occult expert. They tend to deal with the weird stuff, the ghosts, the demons, all of those things that are in the city.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Ryan, I want you to know that going into this, I was like, you know what? I'm going to like be outside of my box because like you really inspired me with Dirge Stranglethorn and Crescendo Restriction Bush.
Yes.
But all of these are my jam. So
Well, right.
I don't know what to
there's
do
one in
because
particular
like
that I'm like seeing that you would probably instantly pick right away, but
Is it the Whisper?
I was thinking the Spider for Amelia.
That one is very good.
Spider.
But pretty much anything. I would imagine you would be pretty.
there are none of them that I was like, not that one.
Yeah. So one other thing that I will say, that this is not how character creation is written out in the book, but I find it to be a little more effective for building characters, is in addition to building our characters, we will also build a crew. There are crew types, and I find that it's helpful not to build the crew first, but to pick the crew type, because you might play a hound no matter what. But the type of hound that you're going to build for a group of assassins versus a group of thieves versus a group of smugglers are probably going to be kind of different.
Yep.
So if I can run through the crew types, just sort of like this is what they do, and then we can be like, okay, we're going to be a crew of this, and then we can. Okay. So the crew types. So there are 6 crew types. There are assassins. It's pretty obvious what they do. Bravos are basically like street toughs. They do smash and grabs and extortion and intimidation.
The type who come down the street snapping at you.
Yes. You can be a cult, worshiping some kind of forgotten god. Hawkers are vice dealers. They are selling some kind of vice to the people of the city. Shadows are thieves. That is what the Magpies started out as. And smugglers.
Spies.
Yeah.
Thieves and spies, and we never did either of those much.
Not good at being shadows, but that is what they were officially. So those are the thief types, and then smugglers, which, again, pretty obvious what they do. Mm-hmm. So are any of those... I don't know. Are any of those appealing to people in terms of what kind of crimes do we want to do?
I am the worst person to pick our crew playbook because like everybody's like hashtag no crime, hashtag crime is good, hashtag crime is good. And I'm like hashtag save crime is good.
Ryan, you're such a good boy.
Hashtag be gay, do crime.
Be gay, do crime.
Yeah.
So I'll leave this up to anybody. Ooh.
Ryan, can we be a cult?
We can be. I was going to leave this 100% up to everybody else. So if we want to be a cult, I will lean hard into being a cult.
I'm down with being a cult. I've never done that before.
I've only done cults for one-shots because, I don't know, it's weirdly tough to think of, like, score scenarios for them.
Yeah. Oh, there's a list of suggested scores for that in the book. So
thankfully, we don't have to play them. We just have to make them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a cult. We're going to be.
Let's be a cult.
Okay.
Let's be a cult.
Hooray!
All right. So yeah, like I said,
hashtag cults are okay.
So yeah, now we can, with kind of that in mind of like, okay, we're going to be cultists. You can sort of build your character in that direction.
Excellent.
Okay, I mean, I feel like if that's the case, I'm going to like lean hard into my hashtag brand.
Uh-oh. Somebody's
I mean, I
doing
can't
blood
not.
magic.
What does that
I'm
sound
gonna
like?
do some. Yep. All right.
Sorry, what?
If I want to do blood magic,
Whisper.
cool.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
That's why I said whisper, because that's like the most blood magic thing in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to
Probably
do,
will do actual blood magic in this.
yeah. I am familiar with pretty much all the playbooks, so I'm going to let everybody else pick, and then
All right.
I will pick from whatever is left.
So is it like good practice to each pick a different playbook? Do people generally double up on some of them sometimes?
Yeah, there seems like enough options to have two very different people the same playbook, although people seem to tend towards playing different playbooks.
Yeah. You could, if you wanted to double up, if we wanted to have a couple whispers or whatever, we could definitely do that.
Okay.
Again, kind of because it's a game where the GM is following the players. If the players were like, we're all going to be whispers, the GM would be like, okay, you are going to be dealing with ghosts every session because that is what you're geared for. So this isn't really a game where it's like, okay, we need to have a balanced party. The GM is going to present challenges kind of based on what your crew is.
Okay.
So yeah, if you can double up if you want in terms of playbook. The majority of the games that I've been involved with, people always pick different things though. So
I mean, and generally, I feel like we would want to just to show off all the different things that you can do.
Yeah.
I
we
think I want
generally
to
try
go. I think I want to go a little out of my comfort zone and go with slide.
okay.
If that's okay.
Ooh,
Yeah.
slide's fun.
Yeah.
That's
what this
Josie's
is.
character.
Yeah. Makes,
Because my comfort zone is the
Yeah.
super social, charismatic character.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I don't consider myself that much charismatic.
I'm
But
the same way, Josie. Thus the whisper. No, the whisper. Spider. I always mix those two up in my head. I play the spider on Magpies.
yeah.
I want to be a violence girl. So I'm thinking either hound or cutter.
Yeah.
Given that we're a cult, I kind of want to go with hound because I feel like there's very silly hunting companion possibilities.
Oh, yes.
And you can guide us through the Deathlands when
Yeah.
we inevitably end up there.
Mhm.
All right. What are you thinking, Minna?
Ugh. Indecision. This is always like one of the harder parts is like settling on a gosh darn playbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have what, a whisper, a slide, and a hound so
Mhm.
far.
Trying to think what's most fun with a cult.
I mean, everything's fun with a cult if you
I
do
know.
it right.
Cults are fun.
Hashtag
We're
cults
the
are
cult
fun.
of fun.
Isn't there like a cult-related hashtag today about Magpies? Or yesterday?
Oh, I'm not big on cults or something, I think. Steph was listening to episode 1 and had a whole bunch of hashtags.
Oh, indecision. Sorry, one second. What are you thinking, Ray?
I'm kind of leaning towards lurk.
Ooh.
Yeah?
Yeah. If it helps by removing an option, I'll claim, I'll grab the lurk.
Please grab lurk, because that was
Okay.
somewhere on my short list. I think I'm gonna go for a leech then.
Ooh.
All right.
I've never done a leech. Which means I don't have a sheet built for it, but whatever.
So we've got a hound, a leech, a lurk, slide, and a whisper.
No spider.
Yeah. Who needs plans?
Yeah.
Who needs plans? John Harper 2K15.
Yeah. So that is so that there are 8 steps to character creation in Blades. So that's step 1 is choose a playbook.
Woo, we did it.
Yeah,
That's a
we
very
did.
good
Did the
step.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So then the second step, if you open up the character sheet of your chosen playbook, the second thing is to pick your heritage, which is kind of over in like that top left block with like name and all that stuff. So your heritage refers to your family background. The items listed under heritage are the different island regions in the Empire. So Akoros, the Dagger Isles, Erovia, Severos, Skovlin, and Tykeros. Each of them kind of has like sort of a short description of what kind of people are there. Akoros is the island that Duskwall is on. It's kind of the like Central Europe equivalent. There's a lot of mountains, petrified forests. People tend to be like pale skin, dark hair. And then you have Eruvia, which is a land of black sand deserts and volcanoes. And people there have darker skin and dark hair. It's kind of drawing culturally on like India and Persia. Tykeros is weird. is basically what you get about Tykeros. Everyone there is, let me repeat that without my chair clicking. Everyone there is demon-blooded in some way. So people from Tykeros have some kind of weird features. Blair on the Magpies is Tykerosi, and she has horns and super pale eyes and fangs and I think pointed ears. Kim went kind of a more like traditional sort of demonic depiction with her, but you can go kind of whatever you want to do. Like there is a character in the book who's Tykerosi, whose lower half is a snake. They give you the advice of like, you can have feathers for hair or shark eyes. Just if you're from Tykeros, you just have some kind of weird physical trait that is a manifestation of your demon blood. So with your heritage, you kind of pick where you want your background to be from. There's more details about kind of each of the regions in the little shorthand notes section that I sent you, Ryan and Amelia, if you want to look at those in more detail.
Also, if you have the book, page 53 has a really good rundown of what that says about your character.
Yeah, so you pick kind of where your character's heritage is from, and then you add some sort of detail about your family. So, like, you could be Eruvian diplomats, or Skovlin refugees, or, Akarosian merchants. You just sort of pick a short detail about what is your family heritage, what do they do? So that is kind of the first thing that you fill in for your character.
Okay. Oh, like, I'm kind of intrigued by the, like, super weird Tykeros one.
Yep.
But my goodness, the options.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tykeros could have a lot of thematic resonance with our cult.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true. That's very true. Let's see. Oh, there's so many things. Okay. Oh, there it is. I found the Shattered Isles.
Yes.
Oh, there's a little map.
Yeah.
I love maps.
Yes.
You're like so genuinely excited about things, Ryan.
Good maps.
Uh-huh.
The little like neighborhood maps and everything are just aces.
Yeah.
I think there's a map that like breaks down like wealth by district.
Yeah. Which is very handy if you are planning robberies or burglaries, I suppose. Or both.
I was kind of intrigued by the Dagger Isles.
Yes.
Just by name alone, and now that I'm looking at it, it would add a bit of mystery to my character, I believe.
Yeah, the Dagger Isles are like jungles and have a lot of like sailors and privateers.
Yeah.
Coming from there.
They live there without lightning barriers, possibly.
Yes.
How do they do that? Well,
Who knows?
I'll never tell.
Also, how do they have jungles?
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. I feel like that's jungles are actually a bigger. That's a bigger question. Is like, there's no sunlight. How are there jungles?
Magic.
Yeah.
Very creepy jungles they are.
Yeah.
Well, they do like what those plants at the bottom of the ocean do.
Do what those plankton do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like ketosynthesis or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or they just live off of blood.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah.
Why
And
not?
all of these sound
Me too,
plausible.
jungle plants. Me too.
So I am going to actually go with one of the things that I suggested and go with Eruvian diplomats for my character's background, which I feel like already is going to raise a lot of questions as to how the child of a diplomatic family wound up in a cult.
That's
doing
interesting,
crime.
because I went with the Dagger Isles Noble.
Ooh, all right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We've got some disaffected rich kids up in here.
Yeah. Riffing on that theme, I think I'm going to be from Severos, and not necessarily rich, but maybe like exiled princess or something.
Ooh.
Like we have all like, I don't know. Let me throw something out here. Like we've all been like divorced from like our heritage or power in some way.
Ooh.
So now we look to the cult for that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking when I picked noble. Like somebody who either it's like a cult that you only know about because you are so affluent in the society, or it's something that we ran to because we wanted to get rid of our heritage or whatever.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting potential there.
But this is Character Creation Cast. We get to make sense of it afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think my character is also going to be a Ruvian, but I think her family ran a temple there. I don't know if that temple is still there.
Okay, cool.
Was it a cultist temple?
I think it was a temple to a forgotten god.
Oh. Well.
Or at least a god that has
It wasn't the official state religion,
from
which,
pre-cataclysm.
here's a fun fact.
Ruvia,
This is, I
it's
swear
not.
to God, not making this up, the name of the official religion, the state religion in this game is the Church of the Ecstasy of the Flesh.
Oh.
Oh.
That makes sense.
So the reason for this is that when, like, in this world, you know, like a lot of religions in the real world, there's this idea that like the body is sinful and weak and the spirit is holy. That is inverted in this setting. Spirits are bad because when you die, your spirit becomes a ghost that wants to eat everyone.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Right.
So this is a setting where the body and the physical are sacred. And so it leads to some really cool things where it's like physical pleasure and physical comfort are very important in this society. So like, yeah, the church sounds like a sex thing. And to be fair, that's probably a lot of it. But it also is just like good food, good clothing, being like physically comfortable, physically satisfied in whatever way that means. So it creates some really interesting like social dynamics that I've had some fun with in Magpies.
That's
Can I
really
also
cool.
say that this religion, because it repudiates the flesh or repudiates the spirit, and raises the flesh above everything, has some really, really terrifying human experimentation involved.
Oh.
There's also that.
Involving taking spirits out of bodies because the most holy person is a person without a spirit.
Oh, wow.
There's also, yes, there is also
no, they're really,
that.
They're
That doesn't
It's
sound
great.
nice.
No, it's not great.
So they lure you in with the fun stuff, and then they're just like, by the way,
We're just gonna take your soul.
yeah,
It's just hoovering up souls.
it's fine.
Oh, I forgot that the empty vessel also does that practice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
So, what are you going to get into?
Well, good thing we're in a cult.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna, because my goal here is just to like lean all the way into this. I'm gonna go with Tykeros.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, I feel like some kind of like high priests or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. I like that.
We both came from religious backgrounds.
Yeah. So everybody's got some pretty high up connections.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. So the step 3 in character creation for Blades is choose a background. This is your personal history. And so again, there are some kind of broad categories listed there: academic, labor, law, trade, military, noble, or underworld. So this is basically what you did before you got into crime. If you have always been doing crime, you want to pick underworld. And then similarly, you pick kind of the broad category and then add a specific detail of, what you were before. So, again, kind of, I guess, grabbing an example from the Magpies, Blair, our Whisper, is her background is academic, university dropout. She was enrolled at one of the universities. I guess she technically didn't drop out so much as was expelled for some questionable decisions that she may have made. But anyway,
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But that's her background. So that's kind of the sort of thing you're thinking is like, what did you do before you did crime?
Okay.
I think I'm going to go with military.
Okay.
Because looking at Severos, like, they're nomadic horse warriors, right? So I'm immediately thinking Mongols with that. So even if she's an exiled princess, that probably means she's a very, very good warrior first, and then and then warrior first, noble second.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put military-warlord down.
Ooh. Cool.
I'm glancing at special abilities.
So I kind of leaned a little bit into the noble aspect of things. So it sounds like we're doing like pick one from this list and kind of quantify it somehow with
added detail.
Added detail. Okay, so heritage, the Dagger Isles, princess, and I'm gonna go with a noble background. Still, like she's always been a noble, but a socialite.
Okay.
I love that.
I'm stuck. There's like a word that I'm looking for, and it's like in my brain, and I can't get to it.
What kind of a word?
Well, that's a great question.
I mean, is there a general area?
No, it's like it's a term for, when people believe that like kings or emperors or whatever are
divine right.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good. That's the
I gotcha. That political science degree coming in handy.
Yes. I got one of those too.
Yeah.
I love that Blades in the Dark is letting us all use our useless degrees.
Yeah.
So I'm going with academic, and there are two universities in Duskwall. One of them, Duskwall Academy, has something called the College of Immortal Sciences, which is just cool. And that is the college that focuses on like theology and philosophy and stuff. So I think that my lurk, I'm not quite sure what happened yet to take her from that to where she is today. But we'll find out. But I think that's her background. I think that she was studying theology and philosophy and some other weird stuff at a really prestigious university here.
I think I want to do law.
So that's going to be like involved with law enforcement or like being like a lawyer or a blue coat or...
So maybe academic is more.
Yeah. What were you thinking?
What are you thinking? So, ooh.
I'm just trying to figure out like exactly what I want this position to be, but I want it to be like pretty close to actual leadership, like not, like right hand.
I think you could probably, I think you could probably do like law or nobility for that.
Yeah.
Because like nobility doesn't necessarily have to mean titled. It just is like you had access to the halls of power.
Right.
So like a vizier or something?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Mostly because then you get to have been a vizier, which is one of the coolest titles.
Have you ever seen the Aruvian playbooks? I don't know who came up with them, but they're very good. There is a vizier playbook in that set.
Nice.
Josie, did you have yours yet?
Yeah, I went with military.
Oh, right. The warlord
I'm the
one.
indecisive holdout as usual. I don't normally make characters on the fly, actually. It's surprisingly difficult. I'm full of indecision always. So I have like a mental image of, like, for their heritage, I have like a pretty clear mental image, and that she like helped in the temple and like maybe was a healer of some sort. I just don't know how to narrow that as a background.
Yeah.
I hate to do academic just because I don't want to be another Aruvian academic.
I mean, but that could lead to some interesting stuff for us of like maybe we knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I think she was also more academic or more practiced that stuff more back in Aruvia, and now she's like unmoored from her homeland and like trying to find a way here.
I mean, so was it more of a practical application of that, though? I mean, could you do, like, labor?
That's true. It could be labor. I was thinking
or trade.
Maybe...
Trade is kind of like skilled.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's how she made it here, too, is that she applied her skills on the road.
Yeah. Going with the trade healer background.
Yep.
Nice.
I'm going to go with trade healer.
All right.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of this character creation series. We'll be back in part 2, picking up right where we left off.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts and guests, or even some of our character sheets. Character Creation Cast can be found on Twitter at CreationCast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you like the systems discussed and wish to purchase them, links to the products can be found in the show notes. Also, check the notes or the website for cool stuff to go with each character, such as dice or mixtapes. Thanks for joining us, and remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We will see you next time.
Gotta read some show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Character Creation Cast is hosted by the One Shot Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, visit oneshotpodcast.com, where you will find other great shows like Total Party Kill.
Total Party Kill is a weekly live Twitch stream where John Patrick Cohen, Eddie Klinker, and James Dugan play through Cephalofair Games' Gloomhaven. Join them in the stream to play along through the action and interact with a constantly changing cast of characters and special guests, or watch them after the fact on the One Shot YouTube channel. TPK airs Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time at twitch.tv/OneShotRPG.